We're going to talk about grizzly bears. I've talked some about bears before. I've been around and lived in grizzly bear country the greatest share of my lifetime. And as a matter of fact, we had a grizzly travel through here this morning. We didn't see him, but we see his track. About 40 yards here from the house. And one of the main reasons that I'm talking about this is because of a very serious situation that came about in the past few days. On the 13th of the month, there was a young guide and his hunter. They were hunting elk, archery hunting elk. And they're about 7 miles from Turpin Meadows. Turpin Meadows is halfway between Northwest Wyoming and Moran Junction, over on the other side of the divide here from us. And the hunter arrowed an elk, and they didn't recover and find that elk within the day. Within that day, the remaining light didn't allow them to do that, and they didn't find it. And this sort of thing happens quite often. The next day, they located the elk, and it was in heavy, dense, thick timber. And the story is that this young guide had a 10mm Glock handgun, and they had butchered this elk somewhat, and they were trying to move the elk. My understanding is with a lariat rope tied to the saddle horn to a little bit better position to be able to work on this elk and sit in that real heavy timber. Well, the guide was on a mule, and I believe the other fellow was on a horse, and started moving this elk, and two grizzlies just materialized out of nowhere. Well, this grizzly got a hold of one fellow on the horse, and my understanding that he was pulled off of his horse, and I've seen pictures of his leg where he was bitten in the leg, and the guide trying to save the hunter's life threw his handgun to this young fella, and at that the bear took after the guide and pulled the guide off of his mule, and the hunter went up on a high rise spot where he hopefully could get some cell service to report this incident that his, and he never saw his guide ever again. The guide disappeared. The bear worked on this guide, and he killed this guide. His name was Mark Uptain, 37 years old, with 5 children and a wife. He had terrible head trauma, terrible chest trauma, so I'm going to dedicate this to him. I have family. Everybody has family. That man had a wife and 5 children. And anyway, it took the Game and Fish Department and search and rescue until sometime in the next day to find his body. And he wasn't really eaten on to much of any extent. He was just damaged in such a way that he lost his life. And anyway, I'm going to detail some things that I feel is necessary for every hunter that's in grizzly bear country. I'm in grizzly bear country all the time. My son is a very experienced hunting guide. He's 40 years old. He's in bear country all the time. He's in bear country right now guiding archery elk hunters, and within about 100 miles of where that fellow was killed. Our Game and Fish departments have encouraged us to use bear spray, to not shoot these bears, to not use firearms. Well, in my estimation, this is a very serious situation. It's one thing to use a bear spray on a bear if a bear like this bear that killed Mark Uptain, bear that charged him, jerked him off of his horse and killed him. They tried to spray that bear bear spray. And anyway, it didn't work. If both of these fellas had a heavy caliber handgun, something heavier than that Glock handgun, the minimum, a 44 Magnum loaded with 300 grain loads, a 45 long Colt loaded with that type of a load, or even a heavier bullet, 320, 340 weight bullet. I have a 480 Ruger. I carry 400 grain hard cast, wide flat nose bullets in my 480 Ruger. I've cut that barrel on that rifle, on that handgun to 5 inches. I carry it in a shoulder holster. That when I'm hunting elk, I'm in the mountains and hunting, that's with me all the time. And so I'm telling you that you need to discount this bear spray. This bear spray is nothing but a card trick. That grizzly bear is a killing machine. You think a card trick is going to take care of this bear? No, it's not going to take care of the bear. But if that fella, or both of those fellows, had heavy caliber guns, they probably could have dispatched both those bear right on the scene. And you know, still both of them, one of them's here to tell the story, the other one's not, unfortunately. And our Game and Fish puts on clinics and whatnot on how to handle yourself in bear country. And I think that some of it's important, but it's focused on bear spray. And I believe that everybody, if you're coming to this part of the country from some other state, some other part of the world, or wherever you're coming from to hunt in this country where there are grizzlies, you need to prepare yourself. You need to be able to defend yourself and maybe somebody else's life. You know, yes, you come here, you're probably carrying a rifle, but it's a smart thing to have a handgun. Here's one of the reasons why to have that handgun. The rifle, you know, when you go in the mountains, it's on your horse or on your mule in a saddle scabbard. If you get in a confrontation, you need a gun that's on your person all the time. Not part of the time, not some of the time, but all the time. And you need to know how to use it. And you need to use judgment. And these bear can close a 40 foot, 50 foot gap just in an instant. And you need to be able to use that gun. I have friends that have killed innumerable grizzlies that have been charging and so forth with proper judgment and proper firearms. And I won't be without one. I'll never be found in the mountains with a bear spray. I won't have one on my person. I mean, I just about carry a deck of cards in my pocket and flip to see who's gonna kill each other. Whether the bear's gonna kill or I'm gonna kill. Well, if I'm gonna mess around with something like that, then I shouldn't even be in the mountains. I need to be prepared. And whether you live here in Wyoming, you're coming from wherever it is. And there are some wonderful firearms out here. I prefer a handgun that's a double action handgun. The handguns that I carry are double action. And my thought is, these bear a lot of time like to go for your head area, your neck area, your shoulder area, wherever. And I might not be able to thumb the hammer on a gun, but I think I can squeeze that double action. I think I can squeeze that double action gun. And if that bear is eating on my head, I can stick it up against that bear's head, and I might be deaf, but I'm going to kill the bear because I'm going to blow his brain pan out. You know, and I had a very, very close friend have an encounter about 8 years ago with a grizzly bear, and the muzzle of his 44 Magnum was 18 inches from the bear's eye, and the bear was standing up, and he shot the bear literally right in the eye, into the brain pan, and killed him. 18 inches in front of the muzzle of that 44 Magnum. Now, I'm not going to let him get that close. You know, that bear's going to be killed before that. He was trying to avoid the confrontation, but the confrontation was all underway. It was the bear's choice. He had nothing to say about it. It was either kill the bear or the bear kill him. And all of us need to pay attention. I tried to find here this afternoon an article that I read it's been sometime in I'd say the last 8 or 10 months, that was put out in the American Hunter magazine about firearms versus bear spray. And it details in there that how useful this bear spray is or unuseful it is, and how useful the firearms are. One of the things about bear spray, because it's pressurized, it's likely not going to work worth a flip above about 7,000 feet. A lot of our elk hunting in this part of the world is above 7,000 feet. Your bear spray just going to go right out here just a little bit and just, drop to the ground. It isn't going to work. And those fellas tried to they used bear spray. Well, the Game and Fish killed both of those grizzlies, and they tested the bigger grizzly of the two. It was a sow and a 2-year-old cub, I believe, and there was bear spray in that bear's hair, so they know that they got the right pair of bears. And I think it's very important that these bears not become habituated or used to think that they can do this. When I was growing up and young in this part of the world, we didn't have this situation. We didn't have this tremendous overpopulation. Many times over the required delist amount for bears. We've been delisted, for quite some time here, but a judge has put that on a stay for a couple of weeks here now for the second time, and this isn't what should be going on. We shouldn't have this sort of thing going on. We need to hunt these bears. The reason that we have these encounters time after time with these bears is because we have too many bear in the outlying area here competing for the areas, and they're constantly in search for anything that they can eat. And these bears have become very accustomed to humans. The grizzlies, when I was young, my first 20 years, these grizzlies were back in the hard, deep, wild country. Now these bears are anywhere. I just mentioned that we had one here near our home this morning, and this valley, has foliage, has a lot of berries that are being, picked by these bears at this time of year. The time of year, fall, the bears start trying to gather food to be able to hibernate and so forth, and they're very defensive. But this management by our game departments and others has led to this problem. It's correctly called mismanagement of a species. This killing machine needs to be very, very aware of us humans and who we are, and be afraid of us. As I said, we didn't have this problem 50 years ago. It's just been in the past 50 years, 40 some odd years, that in 1975 these bears were put on an endangered list. And since then, these bears have expanded their range tremendously. That's why they're down this low-lying country. Here, the city of Cody is 20 miles from us. In the past weeks, there's been 4 grizzlies wandering around the city of Cody, a town with a population of 10,000 people. And they've attempted to try to trap these bears. Well, they've probably been trapped before, and that's why they can't trap them. They've given up trying to trap them, I've read today. So, anyway, I feel that this is an important thing for everybody that's in this part of the country, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, where there are a lot of grizzlies enjoying their hunting, enjoying the hunting heritage, and one thing or another. Be a real sorry day, as it was for those folks here last week.